going to see Mark frantically writing about how great Batman and Robin is. I just know it.
So, hello and welcome to the latest Franchise Wars. And this evening we're going to be discussing the original Batman movies. So from 1989 to 1997, starting with Batman, originally titled. Then talking about Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. So yeah, it's great to see Ronan live from New York, who needs a stiff drink and a onesie to get through this, who looks particularly great. And Woody, it's particularly good to see you good in your Arkham Asylum shirt.
Can I just say one thing? He's Batman.
He is very much Batman. And the Munt, this week, has been struck down by a non-COVID throat infection.
Yes!
So celebration. So this could be quite an interesting thing. So yeah, let us begin. And I want to start off. I want to kick off as I do with these things. I want to reminisce about when the first Batman film came out. And I'll quote Martin on this. Martin, you always told me that this was the A-list. You know, DC had the creme de la creme. Other than Spider-Man on Marvel, DC had the best superheroes.
DC had decades.
Superman, Wonder Woman. Yeah.
For decades, they had the main three. They had the best stuff going. Marvel was a joke at this point. I watched everything. I watched everything DC, everything Marvel, everything independent, everything I could ever get my hands on. And Superman, even Batman 66, I loved that campy show. Full stop. It was fantastic. But from Superman 78 all the way through, God damn, I hate that scrotum licking son of a bitch. I'm so glad he's silent now. Thank you, God. Superman was fantastic. These Batman films at the time you thought were great. Compared to the stuff that had come before, they were wonderful. But this rewatch has really shown up a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Sure can't just him out.
I remember watching. I mean, you know, I had a recent rewatch, and I'll talk about Batman and Robin when we get to that. But I had a recent rewatch of the first two, and I mean, I love Jack Nicholson's Joker. I just love him. I think he's brilliant. That for me is just wonderful. I love Jack Nicholson. He's great. Yeah, all right, Mark.
Okay, anyone got? What the hell is he saying though? Is it I'm of a mind makes a movie? I'm of a mind makes a movie. what the hell is he saying?
Yeah, I enjoyed the first one. I did. I enjoyed it back in 1989. I enjoyed it when I watched it. Was it 89 or 87?
It was 89.
Yeah, and I enjoy it now. I can watch it now. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Which is where I think the Nolan films sort of let themselves down because they were way too serious for comic book films. But yeah, I quite like the first one. Tim Burton.
I'd still say, to my mind, I'd still say Michael Keaton is probably still my favourite Batman.
Yeah, I get that.
I like Christian Bale, especially early days, but Michael Keaton, it was really interesting seeing him going from like things like Beetlejuice, really comedic parts, to suddenly unleashing this mad badass. I mean, that part where he does snap in the movie, which was his improvised bit, and kind of, this kind of works.
Ronan, apologies for revealing your secret identity. You know, you know, if you do this, oh yeah, you'll be like Christian Bale. That's it. That was his depth.
Oh yeah.
There we go. See, it's like seeing Christian Bale do Batman in the Nolan trilogy. Anyway, that first film, that first Tim Burton film, was great, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I mean, obviously, no more than you guys. I had a recent rewatch ahead of this conversation, and I think I watch this series of films. I watch them, I feel, at least once a year, possibly once every 2 years. But yeah, absolutely, I run through them. And yeah, it was just because like it was it's very, very dark, and obviously the comics get quite dark, but the comics never made it to a small town in the west of Ireland, really. Those darker comics, like the original Batman series, they never made it to a small town in the west of Ireland. So for me, like, my best familiarity with Batman was the campy 66 Batman. So Batman 89 was such a massive contrast, but it was still mega. It was still great. And it was, I mean, I was only 6 when it came out, but I don't know, I always knew it was great, but like, I kind of, as I say, I watch these pretty regular, and you kind of start to see why it's great, and why it has the impact that it does. And it is just the darkness. The impact is the darkness. But at the same time, it doesn't cross the line into like absurd darkness, if that makes sense.
I don't think it's shite.
So that's that.
Something then.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what it is. I
didn't mean for you to speak. I was just wondering if you'd uttered something.
I just can't take to the Batman movies, and I hate anything that Tim Burton produces. And I don't know.
So why are you here?
I've just come to spoil the party. I just.
Mark, nobody is forcing you to be here.
Yeah, I know. But I just really, really struggle with watching these Batman movies. Yeah. It's not until Schumacher is given the reins that it gets interesting for me. Not because the films are better. It's because at least the films are entertaining. I just don't know. They're just great with me. I just can't sit through them. And this excuse that it's dark if you turn the fucking lights off. It just does nothing for me. And everybody makes a big fuss about Jack Nicholson's Joker, where all he's being is Jack Nicholson, and that's it. It's no better of it because it's Jack Nicholson. I think Jared Leto does a far better version of Joker than fucking Jack Nicholson does.
He does more acting. Jack Nicholson is just playing himself. He does more, so Leto does more acting, definitely.
Yeah, he's trying too hard. Nicholson doesn't need to try. Just give me the lines, Tim. I'll do the lines. That's all he does. It's Jack Nicholson, it's Joker, it's a Batman film. What do you want? It's great. It's got silliness, it's got wackiness, it's dark. It's fab. Nothing wrong with it.
I kind of get the feeling, though, that this is actually a supervillain's origin story, and Market the Munt is that supervillain. Just waiting. His tortured past. I'm Muntman.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's got at least 2 good tracks on there. Arms of Orion's great. Back Dance is fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. I can give or take the Prince soundtrack for me.
Likewise.
Not
likewise. It wasn't like, you know, where it showed up, it was nice, and you can obviously point at it and go, "Oh yeah, that's Prince." But I'm not sure if it actually, you know, drove the plot forward or anything like that.
Slightest.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go into music of it, I mean, Danny Elfman's score is just like ish. Yeah, it's.
I didn't watch it until until Batman Forever comes out, so I watched it just before Batman Forever. I don't know why I didn't get around to watching it, and I remember being hyped up to this is one of the best things you're ever going to see, and I remember being
you poor bugger.
Yeah, and I watched them back to back, and I think these 2 films are one of the reasons why I don't like Tim Burton movies, because I think they're overrated and severely overrated for what they actually are. And people take the piss out of the Schumacher movies being camp. But these are just as camp. These are just as silly. These are just as stupid. People are just too scared to say it because they're Burton movies.
I'll go with they're stupid and everything like that. The thing that annoys me about the Burton ones is it's pretty obvious that he doesn't really. He's not been a comics fan. He's obviously not really read stuff. He's seen things and he's picked ideas out there, and then he's gone with his sort of thing, and he's probably brought some other creatives in there. But he's stated very, very, very openly, I think, to like Kevin Smith, like as an insult thing, that he never read the comics, and it's obvious, really. I mean, I've got that movie comic adaptation, and that's great. That's a lot of fun and everything. But
I mean, I'm very much
for me. At the time, he did something different with a superhero movie, which was a lot of fun, and it was great. It was eye-opening, and it made them a hell of a lot of money off the back of it. Do I watch it now thinking this is a work of genius and everything? No, I don't. I watch it now every time with diminishing sort of returns on it. But I still like 89. I do. I still like 89. I still like Returns. I find them entertaining and fun.
I think it's very much a moment of its time now. All four of them, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like Ronan. For me, when I was a kid and everything, it was Star Wars and Transformers, and the source material of Batman passed me by. I didn't bother with any DC comics. All I knew of Batman was the Camp 66, which I used to watch on a Saturday morning. And then Superman came along, and I had no source material of Superman, but I thought the Superman films were brilliant. And when Batman came out, it was such a contrast, and with me not having any source material, it didn't do anything for me. And I don't know what it is with DC, but DC really doesn't do that much for me, full stop.
Yeah.
And as regards superhero movies and on art, it wasn't until the Marvel MCU came along that I actually took notice. Up until that point, I could wipe my arse on Batman movies, full stop. And I struggle to, and I still feel the same way. They don't do anything for me. So I suppose that's why I dislike them so much, and probably why I prefer the Schumacher movies to the Burton ones.
See, now, I'd have just been leaving school around this time, so I'd have been going, like, say, to Dudley, like, to the markets and the shops, and into Birmingham on the weekends and stuff with mates. And I just remember Batman stuff just being everywhere. The T-shirts were everywhere, mugs were everywhere, the posters were everywhere. It was the first time that you'd had a superhero movie. I mean, even past Superman, it was the first time that a superhero movie had hit. And just, it had hit the populace in such a major way. It was just on, the image was on everything. That bat symbol was on everything.
I just find it really weird. People getting excited about a superhero with a stiff neck all the way through the movie. It's just really odd.
Who's not a superhero? Who's got no powers? He's just rich and got a few gadgets and is a detective.
Yeah, and I think
vigilante with an outfit.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, if you want to move on to Batman Returns, that is slightly better for me than the first one, but really, it's
Michelle Pfeiffer.
It's
got Michelle Pfeiffer.
It's a
she's brilliant.
And for me, a really good Penguin in Danny DeVito, who does play it a bit silly, but I still think he's good. And I like Christopher Walken as Max Schreck. I mean, that's ace.
And the guy who plays his son, when you watch it, is doing an impersonation of him as well. That killed me when I realised that.
Yes, Catwoman movie. Yeah. We won't forget the Catwoman movie.
No, I mean,
carry on, ignore him.
I mean, this was the Catwoman movie. It's Batman's hardly in it. It's more of a Catwoman movie.
I should actually do You Stand Accused. I should do an episode of You Stand Accused about the Catwoman movie.
Yeah, the Halle Berry one. Yeah.
Oh man, I was I knew there was some bad movie that tied in with Batman. And I couldn't think what it was. Thank you for reminding me, Mark.
You've got a litter tray full of poos for that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you just finishing off with the original, with Batman '89, Kim Basinger is just a non-entity for me. She's just there. Whereas Michelle Pfeiffer is the Michelle Pfeiffer film, really, with a cameo appearance by Michael Keaton as Batman. The balance seems a bit out, doesn't it? It's very Catwoman heavy. It's like an origin story for Catwoman, and then you have a bit of Batman, and then a lot of Penguin. but I still enjoy it. Still got the stripes, still got all the Tim Burton stuff you want, and it terrified kids. Apparently, they used to run out of that. They used to run out of theatres crying. Mummy, Daddy, can we see the next Batman film?
That's what spoiled it for his relationship with Warner Brothers, wasn't it? Really, with that, the fact they wanted to be selling toys, and he wanted to make some gothic weird fairy tale thing again.
Yeah. I remember going to see Batman Returns with my mom in the cinema back home.
Comfortable.
So yeah, no, I think we kind of touched on it, on everything there is to talk about. It is very much a Catwoman movie, and I to this day I cannot watch anything with Danny DeVito without thinking of him eating the raw fish.
And biting the guy's nose.
No, it's the raw fish that stands out for me. Whenever he shows up on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and I'm like, does he have a fish? Whether it's like twins or it's just anything at all, he shows up on the odd TV ad over here, and it's like, has he got a fish? And that's basically all I want to see Danny DeVito do now. So,
and what's his sexual move? The slippery flipper or something? I can't remember.
What I also find odd about this one is a lot of standing around and a lot of standing and looking and standing and looking. There's every opportunity for Batman to take out Penguin and Catwoman several times, but he decides to stand and look at them instead, and I find it really odd.
Tell you what I quite liked. The first time that really you see one of the villains, when Penguin breaks into the Batmobile, takes it over, and Batman's on the back foot. Normally, Batman's very much in charge of everything. And it's probably the first time in those sort of movies that he's very much on the back foot. That was fun. The mechanical sort of the ducks and penguins and whatever and that, and the umbrellas and stuff, they were fun. You know, there were fun gadgets and things like that as well. It was there was a lot for the eyes. As soon as you were watching it, there was a lot for the eyes going on.
You say that, but I felt when I was watching it, especially, I don't know why I didn't notice it before, to be quite honest, but it just felt like the first Batman movie felt very much all about all of Gotham City, whereas this one felt very much more closed sets. It felt very much contained. I don't know if that makes any difference. Probably not, but I thought it was just interesting to note. I didn't notice it.
A couple of nice rooftop sets with the Catwoman Batman fight, and that's not you, that's not you, that's you.
There is a lot of flipping around. There's a lot of back flipping.
There's too much and many mixed agendas and plots for you to actually know what the film is really about.
Yeah.
Oh, it's confused.
Yeah. But I mean, I like it. It's dark. It's a Batman film. It's got all the things you want in there. It's got enough of a touch of silliness, but it's also got. It's quite serious, and like I said, you know, it upset a few kids. It wasn't what you expected a Batman film to be. You know, people are, is this going to be fun? No, this is going to disturb you kids.
Say that, David, when I think that was covered off in the previous film. I think the series not being all for kids, especially the first two not being for kids, I think that was a tone set in the previous film. I don't think that came from this at all. I think maybe this was a bit gory, going back to what Martin said about getting the nose bitten. I don't remember anything like that in the first one.
Yeah, the blood.
Yeah. And
what I loved just was your mum's face, Ronan, when she went with you to watch that, because that's got to have been quite shock.
No, I think it was fine. I don't remember any further discussion. Nothing stands out. We went to the cinema in Castlebar. I think it's fallen in now, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah, no, I don't remember anything. She didn't think there was anything inappropriate for me. She wasn't like rushing to cover my eyes at any point.
Even when Danny DeVito mentions that's the sort of pussy I like to see. Yeah.
French flipper trick or something. I'm trying to think.
I don't know, but I think as well, like I was probably so young that a lot of that just went over my head.
Yeah.
And now that you mention it, and it's like, holy shit, yeah, my God.
So then,
that was not appropriate, but at the same time, I didn't know any better. So I was like,
So then
As
Warner
kind of that
Brothers
age
said,
where
right.
it's like it's a big screen and all that. So it
So
didn't
then
matter.
Warner Brothers then said, okay, fun though that was to make, we need to sell some merchandise, and we need children to want to go and see a film in its drove. So can you get us somebody that can take it far less seriously? Can you liven it up and brighten it up a bit, please? Because it's a bit dark. So can you use a colour palette that's got more than 4 colours that that aren't grey or black?
Are you talking about Batman Forever, the pantomime Batman?
Yeah. So then,
Lots of young. He's behind you.
so then, we need somebody to, we've got other characters we can do who can do the Riddler, and I believe Jim Carrey was signed on very quickly, and Jim Carrey just played Jim Carrey, doing what he always does, off the back of Ace Ventura. It was just, can you do that, but we'll stick you in a green suit, and it's exactly what he did, exactly that, and that was it. He just did Jim Carrey, and Tommy Lee Jones he looked so uncomfortable doing the gags. It just was so forced.
Well, he was a nasty piece of work on set, full stop.
Yeah,
He hated Jim Carrey. And I'll tell you, watching it back again, as I'm probably the guy who was the comic book reader and everything at the time, and I would read all the stuff and know about the characters, it always just annoyed me that everyone just wanted to be the Joker. Two-Face is the Joker. The Riddler's the Joker. The Riddler could be an animated character, as you saw on Batman 66, but he could also be really calculated and planning, and the most highly intelligent guy. And Edward Nygma's kind of, it's once again, they were all just playing versions of the Joker. It was kind of fun to see, but Christ, did they grate on you after a while, him and Tommy Lee Jones together, just trying to overact each other all the time. It's just annoying.
It was trying to, like, it was essentially a competition of who could cackle the loudest.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. There was far too much of that between both of them.
And then
do the brain thing.
Yeah, chuck a bit of Chase Meridian in, played by Nicole Kidman, who was lovely in it. But again, another throwaway, toss away another blonde lady in it. Made no difference.
She did have a lovely line, though, in just being a bit kinky. My Place, Midnight.
And then I actually quite like Val Kilmer as Batman. I thought he was okay. But I hate Chris O'Donnell. I absolutely hate Chris O'Donnell.
Well, there's a reason that Chris O'Donnell is the person you have to Google to see what they're doing now. So,
to me, Chris O'Donnell, my problem was he was too old to be cast as Robin, full stop. Yeah. If you were casting him as Nightwing coming in there that old, then fine. But coming in the boy wonder, there was nothing particularly boyish about him, full stop.
What age was he? What age was Chris O'Donnell at the time?
I've not got a clue. He got to be like mid-20s, I'd have thought.
Yeah, at least that. But I mean, like, wasn't that the trend, at least at the time, where you have, like, Dawson's Creek and all of that, where you have people far too old for the character they're playing?
Well, 90210, where they were, like, in their third.
Yeah, he was mid-20s in 95 when it was made. He was the worst part of the film for me. I mean, Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey, I sort of forgive that. And Mart, actually, you're right. He did a lot of. Him and Tommy Lee Jones were basically trying to do impressions of the Joker.
That was the Joker.
It didn't work. Yeah, but Chris O'Donnell as Robin is the one that sticks out just as what. And what is it about Batman that every time they bring other people in, Batman just becomes more and more inept, and that rather than I'll help this guy, he just gets worse. I mean, I've watched today for the first time Batman and Robin, and we'll probably have to pause while I go and sink my head into But Batman gets more and more inept and not able to do things. And you think, hang on, why would he just go crap? Why wouldn't he just stay the same or get better and just tutor this guy and go, oh, wow, I want to be like you? I get that. Like the Lego Batman does. Lego Batman is awesome. And he's also got Robin, who is okay, but Lego Batman is awesome. Surely that was what came about. In the source material, does Batman go crap? And that's why you need somebody else. It makes no sense, unless I'm mistaken. Martin, you'll have to help me with that. I hate it that Batman goes worse.
It pretty much every time they bring someone new, he fades a little more into the background. Because nobody, apart from Michael Keaton, had really got. There's a reason that the actors only stuck around for one film and were moved on, because none of them really got a proper hold on what the character was. I thought the Kilmer could have got better, but he wasn't there to stick around. He had a nice line in just keeping his mouth open for the whole of the movie, which is, stunning thing there, fantastic. Constantly, but it didn't. They'd all got little aspects of it. Keaton had a much better idea of how to do both characters really over everybody, until you come to Clooney, where really he just does George Clooney and doesn't do Batman at all.
No.
Right. Now, this is where I differ from you three.
Here we go.
Going back to me being brought up on Batman 66, then watching Tim Burton and thinking it was shit. When I watched this, I thought this was fucking great, because this was, to me, was a Batman film, which was felt like the Camp 66, but brought up to date. And I enjoyed it. I didn't like Robin because of the person who played Robin, but I think the film and the way it was structured and the way it was put together and all the campy zaniness and everything else, for me, as a fan of watching Batman 66 and not of the comics, this was a far better film than the previous two. And this was what Batman was to me. And I enjoyed this far, far better than the Tim Burton ones. Obviously, my views have changed now I've got older and know more about the source material. But for what it was at the time and when it came out, and still, I prefer this as a Batman movie.
But you know what? I get that, Mark. I do get it. Because
full and entertaining. I can see that.
And you talk of soundtracks, you got a U2 song, which was massive, and you got the massive Seal hit out of it as well. You know, it was. I get that, Mark. I get it.
And furthermore, there was more of a plot to this compared to Batman Returns. There was a beginning, middle, and end, and there wasn't a fusion of 5 or 6 stories coming in with pseudo politics and all kind of other bollocks going on. It was straightforward, and I enjoyed it a lot better.
Yeah. No, I do get that. I'm not saying it's appalling as Batman goes. You know, that seat is reserved neatly for number 4 in the
I'll say 3. They brought more into the colour palette. They made it more interesting, I think, for kids straight away, because it was the one brought in to bring toy sales again. They wanted to bring more figures in and sell more figures, because Burton wasn't going to sell figures. The first one had got you just on, Michael Keaton and something brand new for Batman. The second one was too dark, gothic, Burton fairy tale thing. The third one came in, a lot more colourful, a lot more action-filled and everything straight away. More characters in there again. I think as a kid, you could watch it, and you did, when you first watched it in the cinema, or when I did, it was just a lot more fun, straight away. It didn't hold up as you went along watching it, sort of thing, but it was a lot more fun. And then, as you say, then came Batman and Robin, Buttman and Nipple suit. And
again, I love Batman and Robin.
Right.
And I prefer Batman and Robin to Batman Forever.
Do you have a fever, Mark?
I'm assuming, once again, I'll go with, was he dropped as a child? That's all my assumption. Birth of a supervillain, right? Birth of a supervillain.
I will mute him in a minute, because he must have something wrong with him. Right.
No.
Before we go to Batman and Robin, right? Just what I wanted to talk about was how well the films have held up. And I take all 3 of the original 3 films, so Batman '89, Batman Returns, and Batman Forever, and they, other than the effects, they do sort of hold up. They're forgivable for their time. I'm okay with it. I sort of go, yeah. Right. Batman and Robin is an abomination of a film. I can sit here comfortably and say I have found a film that is worse than Star Wars Episode 3 of Revenge of the Sith. And
hey Dave, I shall see you.
Now, I'm sorry, I saw Batman and Robin for the first time today, and it has 0 redeemable features. a dreadful plot,
Harvey Taz.
horrendous.
Did you see her arse in that costume? That was a redeemable feature.
No, a horrendous dialogue. Some of the campiest, worst acting I've ever seen. All of a sudden, they're on a sound stage with an ice rink in it. It's nonsense. It is like somebody's taken a theatre show made by 10-year-olds and said, should we just put some cameras in? And they've gone, yeah. It makes no sense. It's a convoluted plot. It's 25 minutes too long. It's full of the worst puns I've ever heard in my life. It is dreadful.
Watching the dinosaurs, the ice.
Everything you have just said. Everything you've just said is the reason why this is the best fucking film out of all 4 of them. It's fucking great. It's hilarious.
Mark, it must be bad when the director apologises at the press junket to promote the film. That's how bad it is.
You know what? The other day we were talking about...
George Clooney has apologised.
No, the other day we were talking about when they make a movie, they need to, as far as I'm concerned, that this nonsense about target market and everything else, right? For my view of what I think of Batman and what I think of the characters and the premise of Batman, this hits all the nails on the head. It takes the piss out of the superhero genre. It puts Arnie in there as a piss-taking parody doing Captain Freeze. Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy is wonderful. Just the whole thing, I just sit there and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's the best piss-take movie of superhero movies I've ever seen. The fact that it is meant to be taken serious makes it even more funny for me. I could watch Batman and Robin all day long, and George Clooney throwing it in is even more ridiculous, and it's possibly the most entertaining movie of this Batman quadrilogy there is, because
hi Mark.
It's hilarious because you can't quite work out whether they are taking the piss out of everyone, which I think they are, and they pretend they don't think them taking the piss out of everyone, but they are, which makes it even more funny. I just love it. I just love every minute of it.
Joel Schumacher ought to be ashamed.
He's wonderful.
Joel Schumacher ought to be ashamed. I genuinely think the takes must have gone like this. Arnie, say something funny. I still see you. Yeah, that'll do. It is dreadful.
Right. Honestly, if Warner Brothers came up to me and said...
Schwarzenegger has stolen his lines.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger has stolen his lines from Rainier Wolfcastle from The Simpsons and just does a parody of himself doing himself. Which
makes it great. If Warner Brothers came up to me and gave me $150 million and said, go and make a Batman movie,
You'd run off.
I'd make this because this is just...
Let me get a list of things that will never, ever fucking happen.
The people making this were about as interested in Batman as I am, and that's why it resonates with me. I think it's great.
And that's why everybody else pretty much
I just heard a dog outside yelping because I think he heard Mark.
Martin, Ronan, we've got 5 minutes, and I would like to continue this discussion, so we will
I'll shut up now.
After the timer, but Martin, just explain why this is as bad as I've already said it is.
Okay, I'll go with one bit straight away. The name is Freeze. Remember it. What is the chilling sound of your doom? It is Arnold Schwarzenegger in the worst casting ever. This is his first thing after being the Terminator. This was his first villain role. It was terrible. Terrible, I tell you. Uma Thurman had just come off the back of an Oscar. And Uma Thurman, beautiful, 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 wonderful Uma Thurman. And it's awful. It's one of the worst cast movies. Whoever was the casting director in this really should be taken outside and shot against a wall because their job was just awful.
Hang on, Martin. Are you sure you didn't cast it?
Even Mark with his mad rambling, ranting madness of a fucking idiot.
Exactly.
No one can cast that badly. It's awful. It rips it apart. The suit, you can tell. It's like, how many toys can we cram in here? How many vehicles can we cram in here? we'll put the suits with little bits of light up armor in here and stuff all straight.
Oh, let's click our heels together and the skates come out.
Oh God! Oh God! I was wondering if one of you would bring that up or if I would have to, but there you go. Thank you, David.
The skates. I mean, what?
Oh my God! No,
doing?
no. What makes that worse is the fact that they look at each other and nod, and they know exactly what they mean. They look at each other, they nod, and like, oh yeah, of course. This look and nod means it's time to click our heels together and put out skates out of our boots.
Oh God, yeah. And the Flintstones like dinosaurs.
Fanboy so angry, and I fucking love that.
You know what? Ronan, I know you need a lot of explaining why this is so bad, but another bit that really ground my gears was driving down that statue. I mean, come on. And he's going, you won't make that jump. No. Physics mean you won't be able to stay on that statue. Oh, I could have screamed at the television. It was that bad. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the worst thing about this. He is appalling. Let's kick some ice. It's just...
You know what? You say that, but there's some competition. I think he's in some competition with most other people involved, to be honest.
Sorry.
I think a competition with the Bane guy as well, and for some reason, Bane's like a really intelligent villain who takes a drug that makes him really muscular, but all he can say in this somehow is explosive.
Or exit. Exit.
You've got to say, though, he does look the part, Bane does. He does look good.
But he's absolutely nothing at all like the character. Nothing at all.
Again, this is why this movie is so good, because it really upsets the fanboys, and that makes it doubly entertaining.
Alicia Silverstone, who for some reason took to doing this, she talks from the side of her mouth, and her mole disappears and reappears if you watch it. It's bizarre. It's just like it's there, and then
the side of her mouth like that because of all the cock she had to get the part.
Fair enough.
Well, I was reading Wikipedia that infinite source of knowledge that, like, apparently she was the only choice for it.
I could believe that, because this would probably be after Clueless, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Off the back of Clueless.
Clueless was just a wonderful movie, so, you know, you'd want to be in after that.
And Chris O'Donnell again. I mean, never have I wanted to see Robin get killed. I've got zero interest in him at all. I'd have been quite happy for him to get killed. And then, of course, you've got the worst excuse for a Batman in George Clooney. Just bear with me. We're going to stop there.
Get his rankings of the shit best.
Yeah, and we're back. So, right, Batman and Robin. Ronan,
This one's for the kids.
Ronan, I've sort of tried to eloquently say about my disdain for this film. What were your thoughts on it, mate?
Here's the thing, like, I have to be careful with this because I'm trying not to overlap terminology with my beloved bad movies. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad movie. I would say it's just the fact that it doesn't really align with what's gone before it. I think that's the difficulty. I don't think it qualifies as a fully fledged bad movie because the budget's too big. But I mean, some of the dialogue, I know we've had the Mr. Freeze puns going around. They absolutely belong in bad movies that I would watch. But it's just the big budget effects. You've got to be fair, the effects weren't bad for what they were trying to do. And I completely appreciate what Mark is saying in terms of it harking back to the campiness of the 66, but I just, because of that, I'm not sure it qualifies as being part of this quadrilogy. And that goes for Batman Forever as well. I mean, should we really be taking these as a quadrilogy? A really great theory that I read once is that actually Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are films based on the Tim Burton movies. Yeah. I love that theory, and when you look at it, it kind of holds hands. So, like, I would say yes, overall it's worse in terms of just the dialogue, I guess, in particular. but it just feels so disjointed from everything that's gone before. And for me, that's probably the biggest issue I have. I don't think it's a bad movie. If I was rating it, I would give it maybe 2 poos. But I think, yeah, as I say, it's more that it's disjointed rather than actually bad.
And yet again, you're giving all the fucking reasons why it's the best fucking one. Because everything you were saying, it just makes the film great for me. I just can't get away from it. And out of all 4 of them, it is the most entertaining, the most fun, the most hysterical, not in a good way, in a pathetic way. And it's just, I just love it.
What you're saying then is you are kind of shoving it into bad movie territory.
Oh, well, absolutely. I've got no problem with that. But for what it is, if somebody said to me until the Nolan shit come along, because that, I think that's overrated as well. And like I said, I've got probably clouded judgment when it comes to superhero movies until I started to take it seriously with Marvel. But for me, I just think this is just one hell of a piece of entertainment that should be put on a pedestal against the other 3 by far.
Yeah, I mean, for my issue, as you know, with the Nolan trilogy, and we can do the Nolan trilogy, although I would rather sing about the Nolans. The Nolan trilogy, for me, my biggest issue with it is it was rammed down my throat and everybody said how amazing it is, and I do think it's overrated. But they are infinitesimally better than Batman Forever, and anything is better than Batman and Robin. I mean, it's badly edited, badly scripted, badly performed. The cast and director are embarrassed by it. There's nothing good, nothing. Arnold Schwarzenegger as the main lead, if you look, the titles come on, his name comes on first. You automatically sit there and go, what? It's not a great choice of villain. The only decent little bit in it is his story ties into the source material. And you go, oh yeah.
It would have been a great choice of villain if they'd gone with the obvious casting that really they should have for Mr. Freeze, which at that time especially would have been Patrick Stewart.
No, Sylvester Stallone.
Once again, you talk out of your arse. Jesus Christ, you don't have a bloody clue. No, Patrick Stewart would have been a great casting choice for Mr. Freeze then. He'd have been perfect. Out of the back of Star Trek, he'd have been fantastic.
Yeah, but the problem is then if you'd have cast
No, it's almost like you're trying to speak with authority at the moment. We already know you know bugger all about any of this.
No, I'm not denying that. But what you're saying is if you'd have cast Patrick Stewart in this role, it would not have worked because of the way the film is and the way it's made.
No,
Schwarzenegger in this movie,
a rising tide raises all ships.
No, but Schwarzenegger in this movie, for what this movie is and what it tried to do, is perfectly cast. And I'll tell you something, out of all the 4 movies, this 4th movie shifted more merchandise than the other 3 movies put together. And for Warner Brothers, that was exactly what they wanted. They shifted so much licensing off Batman and Robin, it was unreal.
It's true, they shifted so much licensing that they never made another film until Chris Nolan.
Mark, seriously, they didn't shift that much. They spent $125 million on promoting this piece of crap. It's so bad, Mark. It's so awful.
Mark, how many Batman and Robin figures do you sell?
Loads.
Yeah, but from this film,
yeah,
so bad.
I tell you what, every time I get my hands on a Schwarzenegger Mr. Freeze, it just goes. £7 or £8 every time. Poison Ivy straight out the door. Clooney and
what they're doing with that Poison Ivy figure.
The Batgirl figure flies out.
They've got the drill out.
And the movie wasn't targeted at the fanboys of Batman and the DC comic readers. This was made to take the piss and was made for kids, and it worked for that.
Oh, it was definitely made for kids and to sell toys, because, I mean, they crammed. The whole reason that it sells a lot is because there are tons of toys for it. It's the toy movie. It's made with every vehicle that they could possibly think of, every variation of suit that they could possibly think of. It's why they've got so many characters. I mean, hell, they've even got a line in the thing. Was it every Poison Ivy figure comes with its own Bane action figure? You know, it plays upon the whole toy thing.
I do wonder if somebody had edited it better. The fight scenes are just awful and everything. Even if it was tidied up, that may have improved it. You know, when you've got sort of George Clooney punching Arnold Schwarzenegger like this, and it's like our Zoom meeting internet delay. It's like, and then Schwarzenegger goes, it's awful. And actually, I thought about this.
Well, I've been watching American Ninja, and that reminds me of that.
I genuinely think, actually, if anything good came from this, anything good came from Batman and Robin, it was that somebody pressed the reset button and said, hang on a sec, we need to do this better. We need to do a better job of comic book movies because this is ridiculous. Then we got the Nolan trilogy, and as much as it pains me to say it, Marvel then got their act together. Without this, we wouldn't have had a far better Nolan trilogy, a far better, I can't believe I'm going to say this, a far better Batman number of films, and we wouldn't have had the MCU. We needed this abomination. It is an abysmal film from start to finish. It starts badly. It is so awful. It's woeful from beginning to end.
It's the worst of the 4 movies, but I don't think it's as bad as David is expressing.
I honestly, it's down there with one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
I'll tell you what, this is fun. If you think of Batman and Robin as a continuation of Batman 66, a modernisation of that campy sort of Batman, it would kind of work then. Not as a follow-on from the Burton stuff, but as a follow-on from that 66 campy thing. Then even all the crappy villains would kind of work in that sort of way. Unfortunately, it isn't that. But if you think of it as that, it would kind of work. But it's not that at all.
You know what's clear is this movie wasn't made by people who read comic books. This movie was made by people
who sell toys.
No,
it appeals to you.
No, who think
Mark, did you make this movie?
No, this is made by people who look at the
covers, good point.
flick through the pages, and think this is what comic books are like when you read them. That's what this film is. It was made by people who didn't read comic books, but they thought this is what happens in comic books. If you understand.
I think that Ronan made a good point. Did you make this movie, Mark?
I would love to have made this movie.
You know what's really interesting then?
This is why DC or Warner Brothers aren't giving you $150 million, Mark.
Shout out for you then. As ridiculous as this film is, and it is dreadful, the stylization, and this is going to be controversial, I couldn't see a lot of difference in how outrageously stupid it was compared to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Because other than the fact that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a cartoon, there's not a lot of difference in it. Because I thought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse wasn't great. It was renowned as this amazing thing.
Really?
It was renowned as this amazing thing for me because of who was in it. And
we'll save this for when we actually do the Spider-Man movie. I think it's going to be interesting.
But you know, I just it's dreadful. Nothing. Uma Thurman. I mean, what a missed opportunity. I mean, Schwarzenegger was always going to be
Oscar to
that. Uma Thurman, when she starts, you think, oh, this isn't too bad. And then it's almost like even she's gone, oh, well, Joel Schumacher's just said do what I like, so I'm just going to do this. Puns. Bane is dreadful. Tom Hardy's Bane, masterstroke compared to this. And I hated Tom Hardy's Bane. Yeah. Masterstroke compared to this.
See, when I sit and watch this, I can't help but think of Guardians of the Galaxy and the tone and feel.
How dare you?
How do you think of
Guardians of the Galaxy and compare it to this?
Go with my level of thinking here, right?
This is difficult, Mark.
We should all drop our shells on our heads.
This is the 90s, right? This is 90s movie making for geeks at its peak, right? Now look at Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was movie making in the early 2010, in the mid 2010s,
2014, wasn't it?
2014 at its peak, right? Now put the two of them together, and if you look at the stylization, the way the movie's put together, and the character development, there's not that much difference. The difference is 20 years of experience. Put the two films together side by side.
I think the acting performances were a bit of a difference on there, really.
What a load of utter
performance was great.
Possibly one of the most ridiculous comparisons I've ever heard. Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, I know he delivers crap with confidence, but that really was just a big bag of bullshit and just fucking throwing it into the wind and hoping for the best. Hold on, if I talk some shit here, I might get away with it. No, I'm afraid we won't pull you up.
Oh my God,
Mark.
But even you must have been choking on that bullshit as you tossed it out your mouth. It's like, geez, I wonder if they'll let me get away with this. Well, no, we didn't.
I'm going to finish my drink on that. I have to finish this drink now.
I mean, seriously.
I'm actually thinking about driving round to your house now and punching you just for that.
That is that's probably one of the worst things anybody's ever committed to a former sentence. How dare you compare Guardians of the Galaxy to Batman and friggin' Robin?
This for me.
No, he's going to try.
Where they all looked at each other and clicked their heels together and guns popped out. What?
But you're not.
I fucking love him for this.
For me, Batman and Robin in the DC movies is Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Oh, don't go
that
deeper.
entertaining. It's that entertaining to me. I think I can't help it. Especially the opening scene where they come flying down on the Batwing surfboards. It's just great. I just love every moment of this film.
God.
Look, no one's going to buy that lie.
Right, well,
not even you buy that.
Look, how many people have subscribed to this channel and how many people have just unsubscribed?
Yeah,
we've got to rank films.
Just driving the few that we have away.
We've got to rank these films, and to be honest with you, I'm going to exclude Mark's point of view. How's your throat infection?
No, it's entertainment.
I mean, never have I heard such shit come out of somebody's mouth.
You can't dismiss someone based on their point of view, whether you agree with it or not. The fact that I'm correct is
no.
Look, we're not dismissing your opinion. Everybody has the right to voice their opinion. I think that, some people are full of shit and it's their right to be full of shit.
Yeah.
That's
Martin.
It's okay.
No, I think we're very much here. Jesus Christ, mate, you're Vicky. Does Vicky have to hose you down after this? Because you must absolutely stink. You're that full of shit on this one. Jesus Christ.
Right. Okay.
Can't help the way I feel.
come in with some toilet paper to wipe
You don't feel like that. It's fucking obvious.
So,
Batman and Robin is the best out of the four.
Oh, shut up. We've got to try.
Get away from it, though.
We've got to try and rank these 4 films. So I'm going to kick things off. I am going to go. Oh my God. Right. Okay.
Got the wrong way round.
Yeah. I'm going to go, and I find it a bit difficult. There's different reasons. I'm going to go. Hate me for it. I think Batman '89 is the better one of the 4. So that's my favourite. I still love that for lots of different reasons. Yeah. For me, it goes 1, and I hate to say it, 3, 2, 4. That's where it goes for me.
And I agree with you that 3 is better than 2.
Purely
and mine's simple. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And I get that, mate. And if you said, "Oh, you need to rank it," and we got to, I would concede 1, 2. 2 and 3 are so close for me for different reasons. I get it.
I do find them entertaining. I think 4 is a major drop off in quality compared. The others. 3 is different. 3 is not the same sort of film as 1 and 2. It's entertaining. It's nice. It's colourful and all that. It is a bit more for the kids.
You know what? 3 is a gateway film to 4.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it is.
If the gateway was to hell, bad dialogue,
comparing
Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith.
four is a movie unto itself. You can't really categorize it with the other three. It's just
That's what I've been saying, but from a different perspective to you.
it's just a wonderful work of art, a moment.
Oh my God,
Give
Ronan!
Mark a video on his own where he can just, sort of extol the virtues of Batman and Robin, just as, sell it really. We just give him a 5-minute video completely on his own just to sell completely why this is the movie.
So
I do think some sort of spin-off to this where Mark talks about like the worst movies being the best ones compared to what the rest of us say. I think that'd be interesting. Well, the rest of us just mute ourselves and have a drink while Mark just goes off on them. I think that would be entertaining in some capacity.
We'd have a lot of drinks.
I went 1, 3, 2, 4. Martin went 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm okay if 2 and 3 flipped. Where did you go with this quadrilogy, tetralogy, or whatever it is? Yeah.
I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
I'm with Martin on it, but I would be interested to hear why does 3 slightly edge it for you?
I think it was because it was just that little bit more fun, and as silly as it was, and as Jim Carrey as it was, I actually think Val Kilmer did a good job. Nicole Kidman was lovely as Chase Meridian. It was all right actually. It's not great, but it was all right. And the trouble is, Batman Returns was a bit too dark and took itself a little bit too serious. I mean, we've not gone into the Nolan ones, which we'll do that. We have to do the Nolan trilogy as a separate.
Oh yeah, look. I feel like half of the conversation we've had for this has been about the Nolan one, so we better do it at some point.
But for me,
I'm assuming they're going to be next or something.
Yeah, but for me, the redeeming feature of all of this quadrilogy is the fact that we needed it. For me, we needed Batman and Robin to be as bad as it was to fix things. It had to be that bad.
Is why
you had to see the Titanic to build the next great ship.
Yeah,
that is why it's the best one.
But it's a dreadful film.
It's just grasping.
You see what's actually happening here is now you'd agree with me that Batman and Robin is a game changer movie. It changed the way
it sunk the battleship that was Batman.
Then on. Because everybody is too scared to make the film again, apart from James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Everybody's
that was Franchise Wars. Next week, Mark, shut up.
This is him with barely any voice. Right. I will go with my old. I think he was dropped on his head as a child. I swear to God. He must have been.
The best thing about Batman and Robin, in all seriousness, is the fact that you, at some point in the next few weeks, build a time machine and go back and cast it.
Quentin Tarantino does Batman with the IT.
That's interesting.
With the IT crowd. Matt Berry as the Joker.
Pick an alter director.
So I think we've established a ranking. We've gone 1, 2, 3, 4. We've gone 1 for obvious reasons, 2, and I'm okay, 2 and 3 to flip flop. 3.
I'll start 2 now. Why I'd put 2 as the second place. It is because it is a continuation of 89. It's Keaton coming on. It's Michelle Pfeiffer coming out with a fantastic performance as Catwoman. Danny DeVito is actually really interesting as the villain. You know, once you go past these first 2 films, once they start bringing the villains in, yeah, they're fun and everything, but they're not of the same sort of level of villain content as you got in the first 2 films. The second one spoiled a little bit by basically being an origin film for the 2 villains, with Batman then being split as the third character, whereas really he's half the story and then a quarter apiece to the others. But it's still better, and it works as a continuation, and then it changes a bit with the third, and then it changes a lot with the fourth.
See, if you take the fourth one out of it, and we just argue about the trilogy, it's still 3, 2, 1 for me, for the reasons that Martin's just said. Is 3 is a bit more bright and a bit more fun, 2 isn't really a Batman movie. It's a Catwoman stroke Penguin movie with Batman as side character.
No, it's still a Batman movie, but it concentrates too much on the villains, which is, let's face it, that happens in the next.
And one, I just find, I just found it severely overrated from all the hype that I've got, and I didn't get so much of a feel-good factor and enjoyment factor out of Superman, which was the only real superhero thing I was into at the time. So contrasting that's why it's 3-2-1, and that's not me taking the piss. That's me being dead serious. And the reason, and you know the reason why I'm putting Batman and Robin as top of the pile, is because it is a separate entity really to the other three to me, and it is a better movie because it's so bad, and I can't help but put it on and have a fucking great laugh when I watch it because of how much of a piss take of itself and the whole franchise that it is.
I mean,
but like that, the rest of us have said 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the word overrated. I do think we need to do it. So I do think we will maintain our presence in the realm of the Dark Knight as we head to. I think we need to do the. Oh, has Martin gone or his video? Oh, there we go. Thought we'd lost the then, Mart. I think we need to continue our voyage with the Dark Knight, and we need to head into the Nolan trilogy, and then we can really talk about overrated films. Yeah, so I propose next week is part 2 of our Batman speak, and we do the Nolan trilogy. Is everybody?
I can do it. I can do that.
Oh, yeah, I'm down for that.
Because I think everything we've talked about, it segues neatly into what Christopher Nolan had to go and fix the problems with Batman. And what
don't
worry, I will find time for
Catwoman VHS. So these will be free on the DVD.
So, yeah. Sorry, Martin. What were you saying?
I've watched these first 4 on VHS from my old original copies. Wow. There's no way in hell that I was buying them again. So I just went down to my parents and found out my old VHS copies of it, and that's what I've watched these on. And the next ones I shall watch on the DVD. And I'm sure I've even got like a really cheap copy of Catwoman somewhere.
I have to admit, I have a Blu-ray copy of those 4 Batman films. So yeah, okay. I went for the popular Blu-ray option. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We were agreed, and Mark's.
No, we haven't.
Mark's mental. So if you agree with our statements that that's the ranking we got, please comment.
Maybe you agree with Munty.
Maybe you agree with Munty, and you'll be recaptured very quickly. And on that note, thank you to the Dark Knight himself over in New York, Ronan. Thank you to Woody, and thank you to Munt. And this has been Franchise Wars. See you next week for Nolan Part 1, 2, whatever. See ya.